free in Perth today as protesters are here to make themselves heard, while the Finance Minister Mathias Cormann hosts a $250 a head luncheon for Perth's richest business people.
The budget is a real offence to anyone who cares about human rights, who cares about justice in Australia. We got like a situation where there's no funding whatsoever for climate change. All the climate programs are being cut back, but the rich mining companies continue to get their subsidies. The polluting industries continue to get their subsidies. We've got a budget which has got plenty of money to lock up refugees, but no money for Aboriginal health. So this is a budget which is against human rights, against ordinary people.
The protesters say this luncheon is just another blow to the average Australian. While the Finance Minister boasts the budget to the people who will benefit the most, Australia's richest, the rest suffer.
You know, he's the Liberal Finance Minister presiding over this horrific budget. I mean, he's a right-winger who wants to grind, workers, students and the poor into the dust while giving handouts to big business and, spending billions of dollars on fighter jets. And, basically he's also for spending government money on advertising the budget, which is really not getting a lot of traction in the general public, and that's why they're having these exclusive luncheons that only the rich can attend, really.
The lunch that's going on at the moment, it's pretty standard. It's nothing out of the ordinary. It's nothing that we wouldn't expect a Liberal politician to pull. It is, however, when you look in the papers and hear the stories of Joe Hockey spending $50,000 to fly a gourmet chef all the way to America and then cuts the funding for Meals on Wheels, these kind of contradictions are the things that are going to ruin this country in the long run.
There will be a lot of losers in this budget, including pensioners, university students, people with a disability, the health, education and public service sectors and Indigenous programs, while the winners will be mining, infrastructure and defence.
The budget's an absolute disgrace at the moment. I mean, it's attacking the middle class, it's attacking the working people of Australia. The low-income earners of Australia are the ones being the hardest hit, while the rich are getting off scot-free. The attacks on youth, the attacks on pensioners, the attacks on health and cuts in education are going to seriously damage this country.
The organiser Alex Bainbridge has been avidly involved in the recent March in March and March Australia protests. He says today's protest is just more proof that the average Australian is against the budget, and he won't stop until he and his fellow protesters are heard.
Look, we're here today because Mathias Cormann is upstairs, celebrating a $250 a head dinner. All the cuts that he's made to ordinary people in the budget. So this is a budget that's going to have terrible effects on students, on pensioners, on workers, on poor people, anyone who sees a doctor. There's just about every sector of the population is affected by this budget, and these people upstairs are drinking it up and toasting our misery. So we're here to say we're not going to accept it. We're going to keep on coming back again and again. We're going to fight this budget all the way.
Cuts to health and education, changes to the pension to make it harder to claim aged and disability payments, the US-style privatisation of university fees, funding withdrawal for Indigenous health and foreign aid, and the raised retirement age to 70 are just some of the programs set to be hit by the budget, while defence is boosted and corporate tax is reduced by 1.5%.
Most students are worried about what's happening. Like my HECS debt's going to be charged the interest rate, extra interest rate, so it'll take me a lot longer to pay off my HECS debt. I have a sibling who I want to go to university, and it's obviously going to price out a whole series of young people who are graduating high school.
I'm undergoing medical treatment for heart, cancers, and I have to park my car at the station every day to go for treatment. It's costing me, or it will be from the second. If you look at the pensioners, how many people support voluntary organisations? I personally can put anywhere from 20 to 30 hours a week, voluntary work. If a government, federal and state and local governments had to pay for it, it'd cost them billions. They ought to look at the true cost of a pensioner.
While the protesters were out here, it is heard that Mathias Cormann has cancelled his luncheon.
I think it's great. It's a total victory. This keeps happening over and over again. I mentioned before that Julie Bishop cancelled a speaking engagement at UWA because she heard that protesters were going to be there. So obviously we've got them on the run a bit. They aren't really confident to even try and sell their budget in public or have a little bit of opposition outside. It's pretty pathetic, and I think it shows that we're on the right side and that we have support from most people are against the budgets.
While the luncheon cancellation has been seen as a success by the protesters, they are still going to march in July. Kate Barnard reporting for Undercurrent.